I was watching this video, and I've got this mulling around in my brain, when Paul Cook made a video about waterfalls and how could the water get to the top. So there must be some kind of pumping station. But the whole point when I saw this video originally, this one, was that when you see that line there, 94% of China live here and only 6% live here. You've got this range of mountains here, the Himalayas, and you've got 2 deserts over here. So, and they said that the mountains are so tall here that they cast this shadow over the land, so it doesn't get rain. And then this way, it rains down here, but the rain doesn't get over the mountains. And then this is Siberia, and then this gets really cold, and it's called the third pole of the Earth, and it has icebergs there, just like the North Pole, just like Antarctica. So do you see, I've said this for many years, we have hot places and cold places. But you know, when you lie to people and you say, well, you know, you only give them 4 places or 3 places to actually get onto Antarctica, and everybody looks at it and thinks this goes on for millions of miles, when it might not. Up the road might be the Bahamas. You know, you've got the Andes, you've got the Alps, you've got the Himalayas, you've got other mountain ranges that get ice on them and are really cold, and if you stood there and you looked out, it would be as far as you can see. So if you're dropped off there, you're going to believe it's as far as you can see. But they are cold places, but most of these are in hot places. It's only because as they get higher, everything gets colder, and that's the reason they get snow on them. So getting closer to the sun doesn't mean it gets warmer, and we do live in a slither of life here. We're in this sort of greenhouse effect, but it's a slither, because if things changed, we wouldn't be able to live here. Anyway, let's move on with the video because I've rapped on a bit. But so I was very interested. I thought, how come nobody has ever told us this? You don't learn these things at school, that 94% of China lives this side because this side is so hostile and horrible to live in. But anyway, let's move on the video. And then, of course, I took a bit from Easy Tigers, Paul Cook. I don't think he will mind me using a bit of video in this video. He likes to get the truth out, and then I'm really hoping that this person doesn't mind, because they have a big following, and look how many people have watched it, and it was only out on the 16th. Wow, I'd love that following. But it was just quite incredible that, you know, what I was seeing. So anyway, we've got Easy Tigers as well. Put this little bit of video together. So this is the Himalayas. And look, when you look here, right, they said these mountains are so tall it casts a shadow on here. So these people live down here, and then a lot of people live up here, because obviously China goes on, it goes to Siberia and off to Europe. So people live up there. So this is a different plateau to this one. And then look what's happened here. It looks like a mud flood. Like it had got warm and it had oozed all the way down into the valleys, and this is where the Chinese people live. See, there's no real... Well, the Tibetan people live there, and they say this is where the water comes from. So why would the water be coming from here? I mean, it's so high there, which is what Paul Cook talks about. So it's all like, wow, Christian sent me the... No, sorry, Gary sent me the Paul Cook one. And, you know, it just sort of fitted into looking at China, because, you know, the water's all the way up here in these highlands and above these mountains, and all the water sources start from there. And this is how they can control the people, because so many countries get water from here, from the Himalayas. Anyway, it will show itself as the video goes on. But look, looks like some big mudslide happened here. And this is much lower than that. And then you think, well, what are we living on? Because this looks like it's still going down, doesn't it? Does that look flat? That's flat. That's a flat top there. Mountains. And then what's all this? But no, let's carry on with the video. Yeah. I just find it quite incredible when we stop and think about things. But did you know, why aren't we taught in school that 94% of China live in the southern part? I don't know. You're just like, as I'm getting older, you find more. Maybe I wouldn't have been interested. I just don't know. But like, you just keep finding these things out. And China is huge. Obviously, I think they only live in 43% of China. Most of the people, 94%. And the other, there's about 80 odd million who live in the northern part, but that's only 6% of the population. So, wow, they only live in 40 odd percent. I said 50 odd in another video or somewhere else and when I was talking, but it's actually, listening to it again, it's 40 odd percent of the country is inhabited really, and the rest is very sparsely inhabited. And I was looking up, I mean, I think that's oh, hang on, I've got to think of the name now. The name eluded me, but it's Harbin, right? And Harbin used to be a Russian town, and you can see how far into China it is. That used to be Russian, and somewhere China's got it, and all this land. But that used to be, right here, used to be Russia. Oops, the video stopped. That used to be Russia, and now it's well into China. I think they said China's the third largest landmass. And Harbin's about there, so it falls into the 94%. It's not on the wrong side of the line. But don't forget, Siberia is quite cold. I've been looking at I can't say the name, it begins with W, and they get minus 50 odd degrees up there, up here in Russia, maybe even a little bit further up. And I've been watching that, and they're saying that the coldness comes over to here. Anyway, it's China. It's a huge place now. They don't have Mongolia, but they have the Tibetans, I think. And there it is again. Look at that. Just that oozing down. Look at that. That is going down. And India and that they're on different plateaus. So how does all the water get up there? Where is the water coming from? See, Mongolia, and then you'll have Russia above that. And they're up there. What are we living on? Just living on different plateaus. Like, you know, there's plateaus everywhere. Like I told you, past me, there's a place called Swindon. And you go down the hill and you can see people live down there. We live up here on the hills, on a plateau. And they live down there. Well, this is a much bigger one of those. But again, from, you know, when you look out, or let's stop a minute. When you look out, you know, when you look out at this whole thing looks like a tree stump, a humongous great tree trunk. You can actually see, you know, when you look at maps, that there is this difference because this is so high. Incredible, isn't it? And all the rivers come, and look how easy they flow out because it's all downhill. Anyway, let's carry on. Yeah, Harbin's about there, I suppose. But it is cold up here and warmer down here. Look at that oozing over. It's quite like, it looks like it, doesn't it? Looks like it's come down and melted and whatever. And you know, I was looking at it's a bit blurry, I'm afraid, but there's that ring there of the Himalayas. So China's here, and that's supposed to be the third pole, which we'll see in this video. The third pole. Well, there's got to be more colder places. We just got to find them and research and learn and grow and realise there are hot places and cold places. Oh, let's go back to that map a minute. So let's go back to this map. Sorry, we're going back. Stop there. So, that's supposed to be the North Pole. That's cold. It's cold down here, cold down here, cold down here, and cold down there. It's cold there. And then in Europe, so this is, I think England's here. In Europe, it's cold there. It's cold on the Andes. There's loads of places where it's cold. You go skiing in California, don't you, on top of mountains? So the whole thing is just ridiculous. There's hot places and cold places. And we've got to learn this. You know, people go swimming up here in the Baltic Sea from Lithuania in the summer. You know, that's not what we think, is it? But anyway, look at that. It's humongous. It does look like a tree stump, but it is humongous. Absolutely humongous with that landslide. You can see it's a landslide, can't you? Down. How high is that? Well, with artists' work, it was a bit like these electrical arkings caused it. They pushed land down and pushed land up, and the land pushed up is the mountains. So Paul Cook in here says, you know, they look like tree stumps, but, you know, dead things don't have water coming out of them. So obviously it can't be a tree that big because it would be thousands of miles wide, but they are different plateaus. Russia up to the Himalayas is on one plateau, and China and India, they're down below. I would, yeah, I'd love to. I might take a picture and put it in to show you. But China is a big country. There's the landslide. I know it's a repetition, but you can almost, you just see it, can't you? Look at it. It's oozed down. What happened here for that to happen? Size of these things. All much higher up here in this bit. Anyway, the video is coming to an end, my bit, and I'm going to play the rest, and I really hope that the 2 channels that I use their video, they're a bit more enawed that I did, rather than, I just hope they don't strike me. But how else do I, you know, it's much better when they tell you. Yes, back to that map. I think we're more like that. It's not a Gleason map. We're on some kind of star or something, but I don't really understand that bit. But they have a big plateau like that in Africa as well. Yes, you can almost see it risen up there, can't you? Even though it's flat, flat picture. But anyway, let's carry on with the video now. And thanks very much to the 2 people that made these videos. It's just very interesting what they're saying.
With a population that's nearing 1.4 billion people, there are more people who live in China than in the entire continents of Europe, North America, and Australia all combined. Nearly 18% of the entire human population is Chinese, while China itself is the world's 3rd largest country by territory. But despite this titanic population and this enormous territory, more than half of China's land is almost empty. If you draw a diagonal line across the country from the frozen town of Heihe in the northeast across to tropical Tengchong in the southwest, you will find that an overwhelming 94% of China's 1.4 billion people live to the east of this line, on only 43% of China's land, while only a mere 6% of China's population lives to the west of the line, on 57% of the land.
Why aren't we taught this stuff at school? I feel a bit like an idiot. Like, how many other people knew that 94% of the population lived in under 50% of the country, and nearly 60% of the country has only 6% in it, because I've said before the 2 deserts and the mountain range. But did you know this?
Is only home to 84 million people, with a population density that's more similar to Kansas throughout. The difference between these 2 halves of China is even more abundantly apparent from space, where you can see the bright, glittering lights of civilization across the east, opposed by near complete darkness and emptiness across the west. So, nearly a century ago, back in 1935, a man named Hu Huanyang drew this map with this line across China, published in the Chinese Journal of Geography. Hu discovered that 96% of the Chinese population lived to the east of his line, while only 4% lived to the west of it. At the time, China's population was only a third of what it is today, with about 500 million people, and her territory was significantly larger with the inclusion of Mongolia. In the nearly century since that map was drawn, China has lost Mongolia. Her population has skyrocketed nearly 3 times from there to 1.4 billion.
There's something else I don't understand. I don't understand when they told us that basically for many years, I think it has stopped now, but they limited the Chinese to 1 child. They were only allowed to have 1 child, and we know what horrible other things can happen. They get rid of the little girls. These are the stories that we've been told. But when it comes to it, even though they've been told they can only have one child, the population has soared. So basically, there are more Chinese people living in the world than anyone else. Don't you find that crazy when they stopped them and said they could only have one child?
That enabled China to soar into becoming the world's second largest global economy. And yet, despite all of that change, China's population imbalance between East and West has remained pretty much constant throughout. And it's been constant for thousands of years even before then, and nobody has ever been able to solve it. East of the Hu Line is simply better suited for civilization and for sustaining larger populations. Because it is. You've got vast open plains in the north that are flat, warm, receive tons of rainfall, and are easy to farm and develop, with 2 of Earth's largest rivers flowing across them. And you've got warm, gentle, rolling plains hills in the south that receive even more rainfall than the north does. The flatlands of the north, south, and the Sichuan Basin in the center are where nearly the entirety of China's population resides. Plains and flatlands to the east of the line are some of the greatest and richest agricultural land that's found anywhere on the planet, while the land to the west of the line is literally the most inhospitable and hostile environment found anywhere on the planet outside of Antarctica or Greenland. In some places, this area is even more hostile to human life than the Sahara Desert. The land here is entirely covered with high mountains and vast dry deserts, which aren't exactly the most fruitful lands for developing civilization upon to begin with, but their environments are even worse than what it seems. The massive Himalayas in the south are the highest mountain chain in the world, and they cast a literal shadow that extends well across the Tibetan Plateau, Gobi, and Taklamakan deserts that blocks all of these regions from receiving the substantial amounts of rainfall that China's east receives. Air with clouds full of rain bring wet monsoons from the Indian Ocean that dump enormous amounts of water across India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar, but the high mountains of the Himalayas block these clouds from climbing above and beyond them like a harsh weather border wall.
So, looking a bit like Antarctica, if you know what I mean. Many, many mountains and ice, snow. I'm not quite sure about the shadow, but if they were quite thick, you can see why the rain might not get there, because the rain clouds have to go up and up to the mountains and then over the top. So a big crust of mountains covered in ice. Maybe that explains it a bit different. You're down here and you've got to go up, 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 and then over those, and there's another plateau up there. So, down here to up, 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 up there. Yes, that looks quite interesting. I wonder what these are. Up, 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 up to here, and then that must be the Gobi Desert. Amazing it's got Elmi on it when they've taken it off of Google, but there you go. See, this is this crust of mountains. This is all mountainous as far as I can see. No wonder there's no shadow. It's just all mountains, and then the deserts.
Thus, rainfall rarely ever gets through, and it makes the areas beyond some of the driest found anywhere on the planet, which makes traditional agriculture across the plateau and the deserts impossible. And if it wasn't for the lack of rainfall making civilization impossible, it would be the temperatures. The long-range shadow cast by the Himalayas is what created both the Taklamakan and Gobi deserts. But their locations so close to Siberia leads to wild temperature variations. Harsh, cold winds blowing in from the Arctic can send temperatures in the deserts during wintertime plunging to as low as -40 Celsius. And during the summertime, they can skyrocket up to as high as 45 Celsius. Temperatures within the deserts can literally change by as much as 35 degrees Celsius within just a single 24-hour period. And to make matters even worse, the deserts are expanding. Just like the nomadic conquerors who have come roaring out from these lands for thousands of years to conquer and pillage China's agricultural land, the sands of the deserts themselves are now taking their own turn at a rate of nearly 3,600 square kilometers every single year. What that means is that roughly every decade, the sands of the Gobi alone are conquering nearly 1 Taiwan worth of agricultural land from China.
I think he says that nearly every decade, piece of land the size of Taiwan gets swallowed up. So it would only take a matter of years to cover China in sand. I don't know if sand moves that quick. It moves because I've been to a sand dune in Denmark. It's the biggest sand dune in Europe, or that part of the world. And it does move because I took pictures and I could see in a few years that I hadn't been, or 2 years I hadn't been, that it had moved a bit. But it's not going to swallow, it will swallow up it, but they move maybe a mile a year or something. But if this is the case, it won't take long to eat China. In fact, China and all those places should have gone by now because the sand should have taken over. What's your thoughts on this bit? I have a Danish friend. I've gone and stayed with her, and behind her house, this sand dune has moved on. I mean, it could have been 20, 30 years ago, but it's gone past her house. But, you know, it's just shown a few more pictures of it. But the government there pay for everything. If the sand dune takes over your farm, then they'll pay for it. But they said, she told me it came out of the sea and has been spending hundreds of years, thousands of years going across Denmark. This part of Denmark is a little slither which sticks out the top. And I mean, look at the size they're saying that is. I've been up on this sand dune myself. Obviously, yeah, there you go. You get little tufts of grass in it because it's not moving as fast as they say, but it is moving. And it is taking land, and what it leaves behind looks horrible. Its path. But this is the biggest sand dune in Europe. Wow, and look where all the sand is. These are all the sand dunes. They're all around the outside. I don't know why that BBC thing's flashing on a picture, but this is Denmark. And my friend lives in this bit here. And that sand dune is going across there. It's about 10 miles by a few miles wide. And she's saying it's taking thousands of years to go across, or hundreds of years to go across. But, yeah, well, anyway, what to make of that?
The nearby Taklamakan Desert is located within an area known as the Tarim Basin, with brutal temperatures during both summer and winter, while also being almost entirely absent of water and surrounded by high mountains on all sides. This region is not only incredibly difficult to reach, but it's incredibly difficult to survive in once you even get there. As a result, the Tarim Basin is believed to have been the final place on the entire Asian continent that was settled by humans, potentially only as recently as about 1800 BCE, many centuries after the ancient Egyptians constructed the Great Pyramid at Giza. As a result of this terrible geography, the lands west of the Hu Line within China have pretty much always been essentially a barren wasteland hostile to nearly all human life that's never been able to support much more than nomadic herders, while the land east of the line became the birthplace and cradle of Chinese civilization. If more than half of China's land is so worthless, why does China even control all of it in the first place? The answer is largely because the land isn't really so worthless as it may seem from only looking at one single kind of map. To start with, Tibet might only have a population of less than 4 million people, but it's not the people that's important here to China, it's the water and the location. Is home to tens of thousands of glaciers that collectively contain the world's third largest storage site of fresh water after Antarctica and Greenland.
This is Cecilia. I've been following her and watching her videos. I think that's that little boat there. I'm not sure actually, but anyway, what we're looking at is she's put her drone up, and in front, these are glaciers, just like in China. And I'll show you where Svalbard is. So, obviously quite cold, with mountains, with ice on, and glaciers. And there you go. That shows you roughly where it is. Let's zoom out a little bit to give you a bit better perspective. Oh yes, we've got to be on the globe, haven't we? Anyway, Svalbard, Greenland, Iceland. There's the Faroe Islands, which are above the UK. Look, there's me when it sorts itself out. And there you go. And obviously I think those weren't, no. There's, oh gosh, look. There's the UK actually lying on its side, which it actually does. And then you see, oh my God. They've done it on here, look. There's the UK, and look where the rest is, all above your head, with that sticking out to the side, the star map, just like the star map. It's all above you. Do you see that? See, I don't think it really matters which way around you have it, because it has 4 corners, but, you know, when I was seeing England on its side, I said by looking at the maps that they'd drawn like thousands of years ago that they put all this land up here. And when you look, you can see it's all up there. That's Europe and Italy and Turkey, and then you've got the Saudi Arabia, that's India, and there's China. So, one way or another, it's always above us, not below us. Look, it's India. They're all above. Look, it's all going up, like I said, in my star map, which I've been following. But anyway, so China would be around here somewhere. But look, she is here in the Arctic Ocean with icebergs. Isn't that strange that China has the same thing? These look like rivers or openings, and in Svalbard they have these just like they do in China. Crazy or what?
This has led many to label Tibet as the 3rd pole of the Earth. But it's not just glaciers. Tibet is also referred to as the water tower of Asia because many of the world's largest rivers begin across the plateau, including both the Yellow and Yangtze, Indus, Mekong, Brahmaputra, and Gangara rivers. These rivers flow from the almost uninhabited and uninhabitable Tibetan plateau down to support hundreds of millions of people downstream across Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and, of course, China itself.
Easy tigers, I hope everyone is fine and dandy. Welcome. Today we're going to be looking at waterfalls. It's just something that's been playing on my mind for years.
And then while I'm mulling around the Chinese one, because that bit about the Himalayas has always got me, because you can see it on maps, and I always said, well, it's stuck up, it looks like it sticks up, it looks like a big tree trunk size, but too big for a tree trunk, but it looks like that, but it's stuck up there. You know, it looks like it in maps. And then comes Paul Cook with his explanation of things. So I'm just going to play his video out and then tell me what you think. Because don't forget, the Himalayas is at the top of one of these things. What's your thoughts?
Now this is a spot where I like to come all the time and think about stuff, because when I'm here, stuff seems to come to me when I'm out in nature. So, where do the water from the waterfalls come from? Why don't they ever run out of water? And how did the water get pumped nearly a kilometre up these mountains, or teepees? Let's have a look. But first things first, I just want people to understand my background. I'm a plumber, a mechanical engineer, heating engineer, whatever you want to call it. So I'm familiar with building services, plumbing, heating, water pipes, and block work, and so it's my forte. So I put everything I've learnt in the last 12 years and I'm putting it towards everything that I'm going out and seeing. And it's quite remarkable what I'm finding. So let's get stuck into it. A teepee is a Spanish word for a tabletop mountain or mesa found in the Guyana Highlands of South America, especially in Venezuela and Western Guyana. The word teepee means house of gods. in the narrative tongue of the Peenem. So, Tepui is literally, or Tepui should I say, is a giant tabletop. Don't look natural in my eyes whatsoever. But Mount Roraima is famous for its tabletop with its flat plateau bounded on all sides by massive cliffs, raising 400 metres and often stays above the fog and the clouds. Mount Roraima also hosts a couple of waterfalls, usually referred to as Roraima Falls, which leaps off the Tepui in 4-tiered leaps, which is nearly 2,000 feet. Now, how in the world did the water get up there? So, are these tepuis plateaus? So it goes to say that tepuis are the remains of large sandstone plateaus that once covered the granite basement complex between the north border of the Amazon basin and the Orinoco. So it also goes to say, since long before the arrival of the Europeans, the Native Americans of the region basically have myths and legends claiming that the mount used to be, or is, a stump of an almighty tree that once held the fruits and the tuberous vegetables in the world. And it once fell by their trickster, their mythological trickster, and it come crashing to the ground and caused a ginormous flood. It's quite interesting, and it does actually, that backs up other stories, like when they say these chopped down plateaus look like trees. This pretty much does back it up. So, what do we see when we see these mountains? We do actually see identical to tree stumps. Identical. But are they though? Because personally, I believe that when something dies, it don't work no more. So, a tree, it's not going to be sucking up water through the roots if it's dead, is it? That's what I believe, but I'm wrong. It's only my opinion. Don't shoot me down. You got your opinion, I've got my opinion. Boom, boom, boom. See, tree stumps. Exactly like tree stumps. But me personally, I think these were old buildings. Vernacular buildings. Vernacular means they're built out of the materials around. That's what I personally believe. But like I said, my opinion. That's all it is. It's an opinion. It's just phenomenal. Now, I want to look at this Pacific tabletop, because this one here has the highest waterfall in the world. And it's almost 8.5, 9 miles long. Almost 9 miles long. So from the top of the Mount Roraima, millions of litres are drained from several incredible high waterfalls, which drop the 400 metre, which is 1,312 foot, tall cliffs of the Tepui, with 2,810 metres, which is 9,220 feet high. So how does the water get above this? If this is above the clouds, how does water get here to the top of these places? It's pumped. I'm telling you, it's got to be pumped. It must only be pumped. There must be an old world plumbing system that worked universal, that pumped water around rivers, canals, it kept the pressure correct, it kept everything flowing correctly. But we've lost that. We've lost that knowledge somewhere, so we're just told this is a river and it's natural, but really it's been made. And let's be real, it doesn't rain millions of litres every single day just to keep the flow of that water the same. The water does fluctuate of the size of the river during seasons, but it doesn't shrink, so there's always a constant flow. Now, check this out. Angel Falls, right?
Using a single giant pump to pipe water right to the top of a building as tall as the Burj Khalifa would be dangerous. Forcing water this high up takes extreme pressure, which could make the pipes explode. So engineers pump the water up in stages. First, to a huge reservoir on the 40th floor. Then, to a series of 200,000 gallon tanks, until it reaches the top of the building. Then
means the control of the drinking water for hundreds of millions of people that powers the civilizations from India to China.
Oh, there's always a helicopter going around at night, isn't there? So, when RealLifeLore made this video, he explains that how to keep control. This is why China doesn't mind all this and it's all hilly, because it feeds so many different people with water. All these people, it feeds all these people from the Himalayas. The rivers come down. So it's a way to control the people.
Water simply flows back down under its own weight. Almost 250,000 gallons of water a day pass through the building, enough to keep its inhabitants happy.
Right, so the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, it actually pumps 250,000 litres of water to the top of the building every day. But this does 8 times more than that. Now let me just give you an indication of how big the pumps must be. This is a pump set for St Bart's Hospital, which is quite a big building. It's this big. So this hospital had 8 of these pump sets that we built. Now they're not really that big pumps, but they're quite powerful. Right, they do the job. They pump water and heating around these buildings. Now this is the biggest pump in the world. It's a bit of a mouthful. The Pentair Fairbank Nijhuis. It's a Dutch pump basically, because apparently, well not apparently, Holland is underwater, so they have to get these big pumps to pump the water out. So this is the biggest pump in the world. So let me give you an indication of some fun facts of what this pump can actually do. Okay, so let's have a look. So the equator, let's have a look. The equator, if you were to wrap a garden hose around the Earth's equator, it would take this pump just 1 minute and 25 seconds to fill it with water. So the Empire State Building in New York, if you want to fill the Empire State Building with water to create a very interesting pool party, you will be ready to take a splash in just under 5 hours. Well, so that's quite interesting. Now, let's have a look at Egypt. If you want to move your pool party to Egypt, the most powerful pump in the world would fill this landmark in 11 hours and 57 minutes. It also goes to say it will take over 2,000 years to fill the Grand Canyon up with 5 trillion cubic yards of water. It's just a stupid little fact, that one. Actually, can't even think that one. But swimming pools, like an Olympic swimming pool. Let's have a look at that one, yeah? It would fill it up in 1.5 seconds. An Olympic swimming pool, 50 metres. That's quite a powerful pump. That is, in fact, that is bloody powerful. That's the most powerful pump in the world. I don't think this would have a problem pumping the water up 1 kilometre into the sky. No problem. But like I said, the lowest point of Holland is actually 20 feet below sea level. So this is why they've got these sort of pumps knocking around. They need it to keep the water out. So, another ginormous waterfall. It is the second tallest major waterfall in Venezuela after Angel Falls. And it's called the Kucanum Falls. Kucanum. Which is quite funny, because it says that the water trickles down towards the base of it. If you look at the pictures I've just shown you, this is not trickling. This is... So you tell me which water gets slower and smaller as it gets to the bottom. No chance, mate. So, it flows over a flat sandstone cliff and then plunges down into a single drop between unspoilt tropical rainforest without any signs of civilization. After its first break in the waterfall, continues to flow over a series of steep cascades for another 25 metres, about 101 feet, bringing a total of 251 metres, 822 feet, and a combination height of 663 cubic metres per second. Wow! So you're telling me that it goes that fast and then turns and then trickles at the bottom? These guys must think we are so silly, it's unbelievable. So you can see all these little branches coming off it. Now someone told me that that's how rivers form, and I do fully understand that and believe that in some parts of the world, but it can't be going on here because the bits that the guy was pointing out are all dried up. Look, dried up. So where does this water come from?
So where is all the water coming? And as a plumber, Paul Cook has thought about it, and very interesting what he says. It's almost unbelievable to think that maybe some of those structures were buildings. But the earth, otherwise, is doing the same thing he's talking about, but the earth is doing it. Incredible, hey? Or it's mechanical. Which one do you think it is?
I've just recently showed you, you need one of the biggest pumps in the world to get the water up here. So how is the water getting up? See, that's where the river starts here. And this is the ledge. See? It don't make no sense. Don't make no sense. It says there's a river flying over it, but it isn't. It seems to pop out at the middle of nowhere and then just flow along, man-made course, and then drop down the side. Does this look like it's trickling to you? Does this look like this is the start of a river coming from the waterfall? So you're telling me this much rain has to come through every day just to maintain this pressure of water? Look at this river. Look at the river. So I believe this is all man-made. All man-made. And another thing is, when I was looking around here, having a right old sniff around, I don't know why Google decided to block this thing out. Now, it could only be an obelisk in my eyes. Like, why is that blocked out? I don't understand. Help me out, please. Tepuis tend to be found as isolated entities rather than connected ranges. So they are typically composed of sheer blocks, so that says it all, that rise abruptly from the jungle, giving rise to the spectacular natural scenery. Ayam Tepui is the source of Angel Falls, the world's largest waterfall. So it goes to say that the tabletop, that is the source. It says that that structure there on the top right hand side that looks like a mountain is the source of the largest waterfall in the world. God, give me a break, mate. The water's obviously pumped up. The water does not go up, it goes down. That's two things they teach you in plumbing. You get paid on Friday and water goes down. Simple. And when I started looking into this stuff, again, it showed you blockwork. Like it's all man-made. And look, ginormous blocks. Oh, like this is in England, I'm showing you. And then the waterfall is Angel Falls in America, in South America. Sometimes when I get excited, I can't get my words out, as you just noticed. But it's clearly blockwork. This is old world plumbing. Either they don't know how to turn it off, or they can't find the valve, or they don't go inside these tepuis. I believe these tepuis are houses in it, not houses, but you know, vernacular houses. People lived in them. Perfect weather for heat, or when you're cold, you go inside. They're the same temperature all year round. Look, they've clearly got flowing fresh water as well. And you're not going to get harmed by anything. You're completely protected inside these places. So I believe these are old, very old vernacular buildings that have got ancient plumbing that hasn't been turned off. And I think they've just slapped concrete down them and mud over them just to make them look like they're natural. Just like they do with the coastlines in England that I've exposed, where they pour concrete down it to make it look like natural. Nothing's natural. That's what I'm coming to the conclusion. Now, nothing in this world is natural. And I swear in the Bible somewhere, I'm not a religious guy, but it says that everything's been man-made for you. But someone, please quote me on that. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But this is the top of that tepui. This looks like melted buildings. How is this natural? How is this formed up here, a kilometre in the sky on top of this mountain? Look at it. This looks like the remains of an ancient building. Maybe it could have been a power station. Maybe there was penton wheels at the bottom, and it was generating power back in the day. Just guessing. Don't will. But look, this is the blockwork that I found in the south of England, and it's identical to this blockwork here. And look at the size of Abbey compared to the blocks. It gives you an idea. This is all man-made, I'm telling you. More blocks at the waterfall. Like, you can't make this up. I can't believe I never noticed this before. And remember what I said in the last video. Cast is a landscape made of limestone. So you cast something, it's moulded, and it's always depicted with blocks. Now check this out, because this reminded me of Cappadocia, caves in cast towers. And then you've got these cast towers again. So I believe Cappadocia was all man-made, all vernacular man-made buildings. Look at it. And then you've got this on here we're going to look at, limestone pavement. Well, you're telling me all this is natural? Give me a break, please. Help me out. So I'm going off on one here because it's so obvious now. Now that I can see it, it's just unbelievable. So limestone features. It gives you pavements, gorges, drainage systems, caves, stalagmites, holes, sinkholes, shake holes, swallow holes. And we're told all these are natural. I don't think so. I really don't think so anymore.
And there we leave these videos. Wow, amazing. Both these videos hopefully educating us into different aspects, but quite amazing all of it, don't you think? Don't you think? It's quite amazing if it's all plumbing. Anyway, and the population of China. I'd like to say thank you very much to both these channels. And what is your thoughts to all of this? Thanks very much for watching.